Okay, so the topic for today's discussion is projection geometry. So what is meant by projection geometry? It mainly deals with the various principles, basically the geometric principles that you should follow while taking a radiograph, and how the X-ray beams will be projected onto produce a radiographic image. So those principles are called, comes under projection geometry. Okay, see, what is the main goal of taking a radiographic image? It should be having good diagnostic quality, right? The area of interest should be imaged very clearly so that it is having good diagnostic quality. So to ensure that, we have to follow certain principles while doing X-ray projection. So before moving on to the principles, we have to be familiar with two terms, that is umbra and penumbra. So what is meant by umbra? Umbra means the clear zone, the area on the image which is having proper sharpness and resolution. That area is called as umbra. So what is meant by sharpness and resolution of a radiographic image? Sharpness, radiographic image sharpness means we should be able to visualize each and every minute detail with clarity. So all the minute details should be clear. Okay, so that is called as an image sharpness. While basically resolution means we should be able to differentiate between 2 points that are close to each other. Okay, so a radiographic image should have adequate sharpness and resolution for it to be for it to be ideal. Okay, so for us, ideal means it should be having good diagnostic quality. So whatever is a necessity, depending upon the necessity, the image should have adequate sharpness and resolution. So whichever portion in the image which is clear is called as umbra. While penumbra means the area or the zone of unsharpness or the blurred zone in an image. Radiographic image is called as penumbra. So what happens? Penumbra leads to reduction in the sharpness and resolution of the radiographic image. So why penumbra is produced? That is the next question, right? See, this is a just a simple X-ray tube. Okay, so the X-ray tube basically consists of a cathode, that is this filament, and the anode, that is a tungsten target. So the cathode mainly consists of tungsten filament, while the anode consists of this tungsten target which is embedded on the copper stem. So how X-rays are produced? When voltage is applied across the tungsten filament, it gets heated up. Okay, it gets heated up, producing electron beam towards the tungsten target. Then the electron beam strikes the tungsten target, and by interacting with the tungsten target, it produces X-ray photons. Okay, so whatever area on the tungsten target where the electron beam comes and strikes, that area is called as a focal spot. I repeat, the area on the tungsten target in the anode where the electron beams from the cathode comes and strikes is called as a focal spot. So that is from that area where X-ray photons are produced. Since it is an area, so depending upon the different areas where the electron beam interact, as well as the different types of interactions, each and every photon will be having, each and every X-ray photon produced will be having varying energy levels, or basically to say they will be having a wide range of qualities. Okay, so some will be of low energy levels while some will be of very high energy levels. So that depends on where it strikes and the type of interaction. Usually what we say is, out of the electron beams coming and striking the tungsten target, 99% of them gets converted into heat. Only 1% will be utilized to produce usual X-ray photons. So since the electron beam strikes on different areas of the tungsten target and produces a wide range of energies of X-ray beam, that is the reason why penumbra will be produced, because the X-ray photon of adequate energies and wavelength will only produce images of good quality, while the rest of the X-ray photons will lead to blurring or blurred area in the images, and that is the reason why we get penumbra. Okay, because the X-ray photons will be produced, will be of differing energy levels. The electron beams will strike different areas on the tungsten target, producing a wide range of types of X-ray photons, and hence penumbra is unavoidable. So what should be our goal in that case? To minimize penumbra so that the image sharpness and resolution can be maximized, and thus the quality of the radiograph can be improved. So that should be our goal. Our goal should be to reduce penumbra. So how can we achieve it? By actually 3 ways can be followed. 3 principles should be followed to reduce penumbra and thereby increasing the image sharpness and resolution. And those are, the first one is, you have to use a very small effective focal spot as possible. The second one is, you can use an increased distance between the focal spot and the object. And the third point is to reduce the distance between object and the image receptor. So now let us have a look at all these principles one by one. See this. So the first principle is we have to use a very small effective focal spot as practical. So see the first image. This is the first image. So what you can see there in the picture, you can see the anode with the tungsten target. Okay, and so that is a focal spot. They have marked with the dotted lines the focal spot, the length of the focal spot. So in the first picture, it is actually having a very large focal spot, and the tooth is the object, and the blue one, that is a image receptor, maybe here the film. Okay, so see, when it is a large focal spot, you can see the zone of unsharpness depicted by dotted lines downwards, right? So that will be the zone of unsharpness, right? Right, when the focal spot size is reduced in the second picture, then you can see there is reduction in the zone of unsharpness or penumbra. So how can you reduce focal spot size is the next question. So that is the principle. How can we achieve it? See, if you reduce the surface area of the focal spot, will it favor or will it cause any other damage? Any idea, anyone? What happens if we reduce the size of the focal spot as such? When we reduce the surface area as such, what happens? Very good. Heat generation. Correct. As I have already mentioned, out of the electron beam striking the tungsten target, 99% of them will be produced or will be converted into heat. So that heat needs to be dissipated. So if we reduce the overall surface area of the tungsten target or the focal spot size, then what happens is the heat generated will lead to damage of the focal spot. So that is not practical. Then how can you reduce the focal spot size? If we don't reduce the focal spot size, that can lead to blurred images, right? So how can you reduce the focal spot size effectively? That is by the principle, that is line focus principle, wherein the tungsten target is placed at an angle of 20 degrees to the central ray, so that the actual focal spot size usually used in an a normal X-ray tube is 1/3 mm, while when you tilt and keep the tungsten target at an angle of 20 degrees, the effective focal spot size reduces to 1/1 mm, which is the maximum attainable minimum focal spot size by which we can produce images of good quality at the same time with proper sharpness and resolution. So you have to follow the line focus principle by tilting the tungsten target at an angle of 20 degrees to the central ray. So effectively, the focal spot reduces to 1/1 mm. Even though the actual size is 1/3 mm, in effect, it reduces to 1/1 mm. Thus, we can achieve the first principle. Okay. Now, the second principle is you have to increase the distance between the focal spot and the object. See, here in the first picture, which is just shot, you can see the distance between the focal spot and the object is not that much. Okay, it is very short distance, right? So as a result, what happens? What is the property of X-ray which is actually causing a difficulty in this? Can anyone make out? Which is the property of X-ray that is causing us a problem in the first picture? As the X-rays travel through long distances, they diverge they form a V shape, right? They diverge when they travel a long distance. So what happens here, as the X-rays are diverging, since this is a very short distance, those divergent beams are also touching the tooth and thereby causing the unsharpness on the image, like the area of interest itself. See, if the unsharpness occurs on the other portions where the tooth is not involved on the image receptor, that is okay. It is, you can leave it off. There is no problem. Obviously, there will be an unsharpness, but the area of interest should not become blurred, right? So here, when the distance is short between the focal spot and the tooth, what happens? That blurriness occurs even on the tooth of interest. So because of that, this will be the zone of unsharpness, which mainly involves even the tooth, right? So the zone of unsharpness is more. Then in the second picture, when the distance was increased between the focal spot and the object, what happened? Only the more straight or the more parallel X-ray beams only touches the tooth, thereby reducing the zone of unsharpness. And there is one more advantage of using a long focal spot to object distance. That is mainly all the X-rays with low energy levels would have already been omitted along the way, while only the high energy, good quality X-ray beams reaches the object. So that is another added advantage of this technique. So you can achieve this principle by using a long open-ended cylinder, as in case of paralleling technique. In paralleling technique, we usually use a long cone, right? Paralleling technique is otherwise called as long cone technique because we use a long open-ended cylindrical cone of the focusing cone will be a long of 12 to 16 inch in paralleling technique. Thereby, we can increase the distance between the focal spot and the object so that only the most parallel rays will touch the object and you can reduce penumbra, that is a zone of unsharpness, as compared to a very short distance. Okay, is it clear? Okay, I'm just proceeding to the next slide. The third principle is you have to minimize the distance between the object and the image receptor. Okay, okay, I'll just repeat. Someone has asked to repeat. See, the second principle was to increase the distance between the focal spot and the object. Okay, this is a focal spot and the object. So you have to keep a long distance between the focal spot and the object. Why? Then only the most, see, X-rays have the property of divergence, right? When the distance is increased, what happens is only the most parallel X-ray beams will come and strike the object, and hence, see, you can see in the picture, the zone of unsharpness can be reduced. Okay, while here what is happening in the first picture, what is happening? The distance is very short, so that the X-rays are so much divergent and causing an increased zone of blurredness. While here only the most parallel rays will come, and hence the zone of unsharpness can be reduced. And see, this is actually a geometrical principle. You have to imagine this picture in your mind. Rather than a theoretical basis, it is having a pictorial representation of how the rays come and touch the tooth and cause an image on the film. Okay, so you have to use an increased distance between focal spot and the object. That is the second principle. Right? The third principle is you have to reduce the distance between object and the receptor. See? So I'll repeat the three principles. The first principle was you have to reduce, and if as small as possible, the focal spot should be reduced to as minimum as possible, which is made possible by the line focus principle, wherein you tilt the focal spot or the tungsten target to 20 degrees. So I hope that was clear. The second principle was you have to increase the distance between focal spot and the object so that only the most parallel X-ray beams comes and strike the object, reducing the zone of unsharpness. And the third principle is you have to reduce the distance between the object and the image receptor. That is, the X-ray film should be placed as close to the area of interest or the tooth of interest as possible. So what is the advantage of that? See, the first picture is a correct one, where there is a long distance between focal spot and the object. So the second principle is actually correct in it. And the third principle is also satisfied, wherein as compared to this picture, see here, the tooth the image receptor is placed very close enough to the tooth. This is a pictorial representation. When you take a radiograph, like in your clinical practice, you will be keeping the X-ray film as close to the tooth as possible, right? So that is what is the third principle. So that after passing through the object also, after passing through the tooth, the X-ray beams will be coming out. Those also will have the property of divergence, right? So if it again diverges, that causes blurredness. So it has to come straight. So if you keep the distance between the tooth and the receptor bare minimum, then that divergence of X-ray beam can also be avoided so that the zone of unsharpness reduces. But in the second picture, you can see the distance between the focal spot and the object also is very less. That is one defect. And another one is the distance between the object and the image receptor is too long. So what happens? The X-ray beams after touching the tooth is again diverging so much, right? Since as the divergence increases, the area of unsharpness is also getting increased. So here you have a large area of unsharpness, and even the size of the tooth also gets magnified a lot. So that is what we'll be dealing with in the next session. Now we are dealing with how the principles that you need to follow to reduce penumbra, that is to increase sharpness and resolution. So those are the three principles: to reduce the focal spot size as small as possible, increase the distance between the focal spot and the object. The third one is, to reduce the distance between the object and the image receptor. These are the three principles that you should always follow when you take a radiograph to get proper sharpness and resolution, thereby reducing the zone of, reducing the zone of penumbra. Okay, is it clear? Shall we proceed to the next session? Okay, thank you. So next is image size distortion. So size distortion means magnification. So that is what we mainly deal with, whether the image is magnified or not. So see, whenever the radiograph should be of adequate diagnostic quality, the image produced on the radiograph should be almost equal in all its dimensions to the area of interest. Okay, so image size distortion means the produced image will be having magnification. So how can you reduce that image size distortion or magnification? For that, you need to remember two key points. Those are the same as in the other one. See, you have to increase the focal spot to film distance and reduce the objective film distance, same as point 2 and 3 in the previous section. That is, the distance between the focal spot and the object or the film should be more, while the distance between the object and the film should be less. Again, the same one. See here, in the picture A, you can see there is a long distance between the focal spot and the object. And see, the object is close enough to the image receptor. So what is happening? This is actually the dotted lines. The distance between the dotted line is actually the actual length of the tooth being imaged. So only in the first picture, only a very small magnification. See, in this picture, maybe you might be feeling it is little high. No, actually, it is a very minute magnification that is quite pardonable. So this will be having a good, the image produced will be having almost similar dimensions as that of the original tooth. While in the second picture, see, the distance between the focal spot and the tooth is less, and between the tooth, that is the object, and the image receptors is very more. So here the dotted lines, actually the distance between the dotted line is the actual length of the tooth, but since the X-rays are divergent, after passing through the tooth, they are diverging so much so that the image is actually hugely magnified in the second picture. You can see it will be too much magnified. Actual size should only be between these dotted lines, but instead, since the distance between the tooth and the receptor was too much, the image got magnified a lot. So the second picture here is wrong. The first picture is correct. So you can prevent image size distortion. That is, the magnification can be avoided by keeping a long focal spot to film or object distance. And the distance between the object and the film should be as close as possible. Okay, you have to keep a very short distance between the object and the film receptor. That is, the film should be placed as close to the object as possible always. Okay. Now, the next session is image shape distortion. So we dealt with the image size distortion. Next is image shape distortion. Yes, about someone has asked about foreshortening. That comes in image shape distortion and not size distortion. It is actually the shape of the tooth. So that means what is meant by image shape distortion? It's mainly unequal magnification. So foreshortening and elongation comes in image shape distortion, causing because of unequal magnification of different areas of the same object. Okay. So to avoid image shape distortion, you have to position the image receptor parallel to the long axis of the object. That is, the X-ray film should be placed parallel to the long axis of the object being imaged. And the second key point is the central ray of the X-ray beam should be perpendicular to both the object as well as the image receptor. So the image receptor or the film should be placed parallel to the long axis of the object or the tooth, while the central ray should be perpendicular to both the object and the image receptor. So if these principles are not followed, let us see what all shape distortions occur. The first picture. Now, can anyone tell me what is occurring in the first picture? Here you can see the X-ray beam. So the distance between the focal spot and the tooth is okay, correct? So it's having a long distance. So that is fine. And first defect in the picture is the image receptor is not parallel to the long axis of the tooth, right? So it is actually making an angle between the tooth and the image receptor. The image receptor is not kept parallel to the tooth. And because of that, what has happened? The central ray is perpendicular to only the receptor and it is not perpendicular to the tooth. So what kind of defect occurs in this? What kind of image shape distortion occurs in this picture? Can anyone tell me? Any guesses? Okay, is it foreshortening or elongation? Very good. It is foreshortening. Very good. Because see, this is the actual size of the object, but only this portion gets imaged. So the object size gets foreshortened, right? So if here the central ray is only perpendicular to the image receptor and not to the object, and apart from that, the receptor is not kept parallel to the long axis of the object. So that leads to image foreshortening. Very correct. Now the next picture. Here again the image receptor is not parallel to the long axis of the tooth, but the central ray is perpendicular to the tooth and not to the receptor. So what is the shape distortion occurring in this? Yes, it's quite obvious, right? This portion is getting elongated, right? So actual size of the image is only this much, but all over from here to here, you will get the image of the tooth being elongated. So central ray is perpendicular to the object, but not to the receptor, that leading to image elongation. So you can always remember this picture to get your answer correct, because this is always a repeatedly asked question of, image, image foreshortening and image elongation. And so here the central ray is perpendicular to the tooth, but not to the receptor. Okay. Yeah, just a minute. See, actually today I have not included any, questions from the sessions. I'll put it in your WhatsApp group because, in this, there's not much of, applied questions have come, especially the questions have just come from the elongation and the foreshortening session. And that is the reason why I didn't include any question as such. So I'll put those questions that I have typed onto your WhatsApp groups. Okay, please go through it. Okay, someone has asked for repetition of elongation. See, this is the elongation wherein the central ray is actually here, the central ray is perpendicular to the tooth, but not to the image receptor. So what happens? The actual size of the image is only this much, but you're getting a very elongated image of this much. See, here the whole central ray will be projected. Since the receptor is tilted, the central ray will be projected too much onto the receptor, leading to quite a huge magnification. Okay, so here, because of that, the central ray is only perpendicular to the object and not to the receptor, and in such cases, that leads to an elongated image. Okay, so before I conclude, do you have any other doubts? You want me to repeat any of these sessions? Because see, radiology, when it comes to all this projection geometry and all the other sharpness, resolution, image characteristics and all, there is so much of overlapping that usually occurs between all the sections. So if I put even some questions, it will be very difficult for you to come up without having a clear-cut idea about all the other sections of the radiographic principles. Okay, so that is the reason why I avoided that. So if you have any doubts, you can ask and I can clarify that. Yes, someone has asked for foreshortening. I can repeat. See, this is the image of foreshortening wherein the central ray is perpendicular only to the receptor. It is not perpendicular to the tooth. So because of that, the principle was violated. So what happens? Actual length of the tooth is this much. Okay, but only this much area gets imaged. On the receptor, you will receive the image of the tooth only in this much area. Usually, you should have got about this much. That didn't occur. So only this much area got imaged. And because of that, the image of the tooth appears foreshortened. So to avoid image shape distortion, the central ray should be perpendicular to both the object as well as the receptor. And also the receptor should be placed parallel to the long axis of the tooth. Okay, so the receptor should be placed parallel to the long axis of the tooth, and the central ray should be perpendicular to both the image receptor as well as the object. See, that's what. How can we correct the error? Yes, see, we are learning all these principles to correct this error only. How can we correct it? You have to point the central ray in such a way. First of all, whenever you first step in while taking a radiograph is how you place the film with respect to the tooth. See, our arch is not straight, right? It is curved. Our arch is actually curved. So whenever you place the film, X-ray film inside the mouth, you always place it as close to the tooth as possible in bisecting angle technique. So that is the drawback of bisecting angle technique. Inherently, you are causing image size and shape distortion because you're placing the receptor close to the tooth as possible. Fine. But what happens, since our arch is curved, the central ray that we are projecting cannot be made perpendicular to both the tooth and the receptor. That is not possible. So inherently, in bisecting angle technique, you are creating actually a image size or shape distortion, but we are trying to keep it as minimum as possible by following all those angulations specified. Okay, but that differ from person to person. If the person is having a very high arched palate, you have to modify the technique. If it is having a very flat palate, again, you have to modify the technique. And the advantage of paralleling technique is you're using holders. So because of that, how much of a curve the arch may be, that doesn't matter. You're trying to place the image receptor parallel to the tooth. And obviously what happens, you are having an externally projected, ring onto which you can just project the cone. So inherently what happens in paralleling technique is the central ray will be perpendicular to both the tooth and the receptor because you are using the film holders in paralleling technique. But bisecting angle technique, that's why we are actually directing the beam onto an imaginary line, bisecting the angle between the tooth and the receptor. Okay. Someone has asked, while taking X-ray, we place tube end near to the patient. Second principle is used or not. See, actually, that is a good question because, see, the X-ray, I hope you all have seen the X-ray tube, right? So you will be having a rectangular box or a square box. From that, a cone will be projected, okay? So actually, inside the rectangular box is where the X-ray tube as such is enclosed. The focal spot is inside that rectangular box. Okay, well, whatever cone, that is cylinder that is getting extended is actually like a cone, actually like a a pathway only for the X-ray beams to come out. Fine. So because of that, even you are only placing the cone close to the patient. right? But from the cone, again, it's actually a long distance from the focal spot. So actually you are maintaining it. And that is the reason why I told using a long ended cone, like in paralleling technique, is quite good rather than using a short cone as in bisecting angle technique. So when you're, sorry, not, bisecting angle technique, you're using actually a short cone, right? Normal X-ray machines that you have, most of it will be having a very short cone of 8 inches because most of the time you are using a bisecting angle technique. Okay. While in parallel technique, what is happening when you are using the ring, that ring, again, it is actually maintaining a distance, and onto the ring only you're placing the cone. So again, you are actually increasing the distance between the focal spot and the image receptor. So that is actually the principle is satisfied by that technique. Okay, so the cone as such is actually long enough. The focal spot is within the rectangular area, and the X-rays are not produced from the tip of the cone or the cylinder. Okay, is it clear? Yeah. So these are the reasons why, I avoided questions from this section, because mostly what they ask us based on this picture only, they will be asking image foreshortening and elongation. Those will be the questions that usually will be asked. But this area should be pakka clear. They can ask in either ways. So that is the reason why I avoided, putting questions. So for your next test, I can include questions. You can go through these slides. Any other slide that you want me to repeat? Anyway you felt it's difficult to follow? See, radiology, it's a topic wherein so many factors overlap. When we come to the normal, regular sessions, there are so many topics that comes and overlaps. Okay, maybe only at the end of the session, the entire session, you will be understanding certain points. That also occurs. So much of physics is involved when it comes to radiology. And so it's better, like, just go one by one. When you try to learn radiology, it's better to go one step at a time. Read it clearly. Just no need to, just don't go like reading too much and, getting confused too much. That usually happens with, radiology, especially because most of the questions are asked from White and Farrow. So White and Farrow is a kind of Bible of oral radiology, and there is so much of technique involved. So you all might have learned rather simple textbooks during your UG time, but for your NEET examinations, those sections usually come from White and Farrow, which is very long and elaborate. There are so many things that overlaps when it comes to radiology. It is a very dry topic. Radiographic appearances are quite interesting, but as such, this is very, very dry. So it's better to learn the concept, the basic concept. If you get it, you yourself can work it out. And always try to correlate whenever radiology you're reading something. Always try to correlate what you do clinically, how you position the patient. It all comes in your, it should come in your imagination too, for you to understand the concept properly. Okay. Someone has asked for umbra and penumbra definition. So there is no pakka definition. Umbra means the zone which is clear or clarity, zone of clarity in the image with proper sharpness and resolution is umbra, while penumbra means zone of unsharpness or blurred zone in the image. Okay. So the concept is what is very important in radiology. So if you have anyway, I'll post a few questions tomorrow morning in the WhatsApp group. So you can just go through with the answer keys. I'll put it. Okay. So today you just try to go through this. Since this is there in the video is available for you. Please go through it. You can go through all the pictures. That way I try to include so many pictures. Go through it. And then if you have any doubts, you can put it in the group. I'll be able to, answer for it. Okay. Thank you so much for your patient listening. And tomorrow's section is on case control studies by Dr. Arun Paul. So now I leave it to Dr. Hima to conclude the session. Yes, excuse me. Someone has asked if focal spot decrease. Can you come up? What is your doubt? What you need to know? Can you type it in detail? What is your doubt? Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Just a minute, Hima. Someone is asking a doubt. We'll just see that and then we'll conclude.
Okay.
Okay. If focal spot decrease effect on image sharpness. See, that is actually, to improve the image sharpness, the size of the focal spot should be kept as small as possible. Because we told penumbra is caused because the X-rays are hitting the tungsten target, that is a focal spot at different areas. It is not a particular point, it is an area. So the X-rays, the electron beams are coming and touching different areas on the focal spot. And so the X-ray beam produced will be having different energy levels. So that difference is what is causing the penumbra, right? Since the electron beams are interacting with a wide area on the focal spot is why penumbra is caused. So when you reduce the area, actually you're improving the quality of the X-ray beam and thereby reducing penumbra. So when the focal spot size is reduced as much as possible, then you can improve or increase image sharpness. You will be getting a very good quality image. A good sharp image will be produced by reducing the focal spot size. But you have a clause over there. What is that? If you reduce the focal spot size to very minimum, then due to heat, like inability to dissipate heat, the focal spot gets damaged, which you need to prevent. So to avoid that, you are actually tilting the target to an angle of 20 degrees. And by that way, actually, literally, the focal spot size is not reduced. But effectively, you are making it into small area. So only that much. When you tilt, see, when you are tilting, what happens? The X-ray beam, see, if it is like this flat enough, the X-ray beam the electron beams can comes and strike all over this area, right? When you tilt it, what happens? The electron beams will not travel like this. It will be coming in straight only. So only this much area it can comes and strike. This area and this area you can avoid. But as such, effectively the focal spot size is reduced, but literally the focal spot size of the focal spot remains the same. So that heat dissipation problem can be avoided. At the same time, you can improve the image sharpness. Now, is it clear? I hope, okay. Yeah, I hope that was clear. So now I hand over to Dr. Hima to conclude this session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. And tomorrow at 8 p.m., log in to join the webinar by Dr. Arun Paul on the topic case control study. And to join our regular MDS classes starting from January 31st, please, ma'am, can you change to your last slide?
Yeah, just a minute. I stopped sharing, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. So the numbers are given here. You can contact in any of these numbers to join our MDS classes. It will be starting by January 31st, 2021. So please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you.